What if I told you that less than a century ago, an environmental disaster so massive struck the heart of America that it turned fertile farmland into a barren wasteland, forcing families to flee, starving crops, and blotting out the sun with storms of black dust? This was not the result of war or volcanic eruption, but something far more complex, and in many ways, man-made. This was the Dust Bowl. But what exactly caused it? And why did it happen when it did? Our story begins in the early 20th century in the vast, flat expanse of the Great Plains, stretching across parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. For centuries, this land was home to hardy grasses, whose deep roots held the soil in place, even during dry spells. Native tribes and early settlers knew the limits of this environment. But everything changed when a combination of economic ambition, new technology, and misplaced optimism collided. In the 1910s and 1920s, the United States encouraged settlement of the Great Plains. New farming equipment, like the mechanized plow, made it easier than ever to turn vast stretches of prairie into farmland. Wheat became king, and farmers, many of them new to the area, plowed millions of acres, removing the deep-rooted grasses that had protected the soil for millennia. The 1920s brought good years. Rainfall was above average and crop yields soared. Encouraged by high wheat prices, farmers expanded even more, thinking the good times would never end. But beneath the surface, a silent danger was building. Without the native grasses, the soil had no natural anchor. All it needed was the right weather, and the wrong weather was coming. In 1929, the stock market crashed, sending the United States spiraling into the Great Depression. Wheat prices, they just collapsed, yet desperate farmers planted even more, hoping to make up for their losses. By this point, tens of millions of acres were bare and vulnerable, and then, well, the rain stopped. The early 1930s brought one of the worst droughts in recorded American history. Month after month, the skies just refused to open. The once rich topsoil, now loose and unprotected, dried into fine dust. And when the winds swept across the plains, they picked up that dust and carried it for hundreds of miles. These weren't just small gusts. The Great Plains was, and still is, one of the windiest regions in North America. Without anything to hold the soil down, massive dust storms, some reaching thousands of feet high, blotted out the sun and turned day into night. Farmers called them black blizzards. Inhaling the dust could cause dust pneumonia, and it coated everything: food, furniture, even the insides of homes. The worst storm struck on April 14, 1935, a day remembered as Black Sunday. That morning the skies were clear, but by afternoon a wall of black dust hundreds of miles wide rolled in. Witnesses said it looked like the end of the world. The storm swept across multiple states, stripping away what little soil remained and leaving behind only bare earth. The causes of the Dust Bowl were not just environmental, they were deeply human. Overfarming, poor land management, and the destruction of native grasses made the land vulnerable. The drought acted as the spark, but decades of agricultural practices had piled up the kindling. Even the government had encouraged settlers to farm land that was never meant to be intensively cultivated. The human toll was devastating. Crops failed year after year, livestock died, families lost their farms to banks when they could no longer pay their debts. Many packed up and migrated west, especially to California in search of work. These migrants, often called Okies no matter which state they came from, faced discrimination, poverty, and backbreaking labor in the fields. By the late 1930s, change finally came. The federal government launched programs to restore the land. Farmers were encouraged to plant windbreak trees, rotate crops, and adopt soil conservation techniques. The Civilian Conservation Corps planted millions of trees in shelter belts to slow the wind. Slowly, the land began to heal, though the scars would remain for decades. The Dust Bowl taught a painful lesson. Human activity can amplify natural disasters. The Great Plains is still prone to drought, but better land management means such devastation is far less likely today. Yet the story still echoes, reminding us that the balance between people and the environment is fragile and once broken, can take generations to restore. So when we look back at the Dust Bowl, we see not just a tragic chapter in American history, but a warning, a reminder that nature, though resilient, has limits. The fertile soil that sustains us is not infinite, and when we take it for granted, the winds of history have a way of sweeping it away.